let me ask you guys a question. Would you date a guy who's currently living with his parents?
Yeah.
I have.
I have.
It's
Yeah.
expensive out here.
Stop the cap.
Cali's
Especially
expensive.
California.
Guys, come on.
Y'all are so shocked.
Wait,
Come
what
on.
is this?
Most people
Come
cannot
on.
afford
No,
the average apartment.
Dude, I want better for y'all. Like, honestly, y'all should have higher standards than that. Like, what?
Like, I mean, like, I don't think that staying home with your parents is like a sin. Like, it's expensive to rent. Like, there's so many, like, you know, circumstances that could lead to that, and it might not be your fault.
Especially
you know?
with COVID too, a lot of like people lost their jobs, so it's really tough to get back on your feet. And some people had to like go back to their parents, and it doesn't necessarily mean like they're less of a man or like they're less worthy of like being my partner because of that.
Okay, so just show of hands, who here would date a guy who's around your age that lives with his parents? No? Are you the only, you two only, wait, sorry, hands again? Can I get hands?
Would date guy.
No from you, no from you, no from you.
I think it depends on the situation.
Well, 45-year-old, most 45-year-old men are probably not living with their parents, I
Here's another
imagine.
thing. This is also a big culture difference. Because we're from Asian cultures, most people do stay close or with their parents, especially the firstborn.
Even like in America?
Oh,
Even
yeah,
in the
for
US?
sure.
Really?
My entire family all lives on one street. We have 6 houses on one street where our grandparents are in just one house, so we can all take care of each other.
Well, you know what? It's also in certain European countries that's the case too. Like in Italy, for example, people stay with their parents longer, and I actually don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's a very Western, very American thing for us to 18, go like get out on your own. And I think it's kind of unfortunate in the sense that we don't stick around to help take care of our parents and whatnot. So, I'd say generally speaking, in the U.S., in a lot of Western countries, it is sort of looked down upon if, you know, let's say by the time you're 21 or out of college, if you're still living at home.
I think it's just like very unfair to ask us to speak for all people. I think we're just giving our own personal beliefs here.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's totally fine.
I've met a lot of Asian Americans who still live with their parents, even if they're like closer to 30. Just the best financial, I think it's just one of the best financial routes to do. Or like, if you just really enjoy having a family around, there shouldn't be anything wrong with that at all.
I personally don't think there's anything wrong with it. You guys mentioned there's financial considerations, and then you could also just be close with your parents and maybe taking care of them, whatever it may be. But I would say, generally speaking, if you take the average 25-year-old woman and you ask her, hey, would you want to date a guy who lives with his parents? Most of them are going to say, no, I would not. Because he's not independent and he's not all these things. Go ahead.
So, yeah, sorry for interrupting. I think the reason why they would say no is because they have no context. And then, like, you know, with societal norms, especially in Western countries, yeah, like, they would have the assumption, like, oh, if you're staying home with your parents, yeah, there's something wrong with you. But, like, you know, context is important. And I feel like if the circumstances were known, it would change someone's answer.
What are the circumstances?
Well, someone can be staying at home just because, like, maybe the housing market sucks. Like, maybe they can't buy a house, but they got, like, this killer-ass income. Maybe they're staying with their parents because, like, maybe they just broke up with, like, their spouse or something, and they need to stay with someone else to, like, you know, emotionally recuperate. Like, so many things happen in life. It is not just because you're a failure. Shit happens. And, like, there's also the topic of compounding interest as well, right? $2K a month in rent, millions of dollars you could be losing out on. Millions.
Okay, here's another question. Then. So, I mean, you say that, right? But like, so women don't really care about men's struggles. Like, they wait at the finish line and they pick the winners. That's how it is.
That's not how relationships work, though. I feel like everyone, no matter how successful they are starting with some certain struggle because no one is living a perfect life. A successful relationship is about whether you are willing to invest in believing in that person and being with them for every step of the way.
If I don't have game, if my life isn't set up, if my social skills are lacking, women aren't going to be like, oh, it's okay, Brian. Women want men to come pre-assembled. If I'm kind of nervous on the first date, it's a fucking wrap. She's going to say, I'm not feeling the vibe. He was a bit nervous. Like, so as a guy, you have to come assembled. If you don't, the girl's going to fucking curve you and go with someone else.
No, I highly disagree. Because why would I expect a man to come all perfectly assembled when I am not perfectly assembled? I'm not going to expect some guy to be perfect when I'm not even perfect.
You need not be perfect, but if you show up to a date with lacking social skills and you're not like, you're nervous or you're kind of like jittery or whatever, she's going to be like, nah, I'm not about it.
Well, I mean, power to them if they want to do that. But at least when it comes to me, there's a reason why someone would lack social skills. Maybe they're traumatized. Maybe they didn't have a lot of friends growing up. There's a reason for why things are there. And like, rather than just going away and being like, okay, like I don't want to date you, how about we just find out why? And like, literally, I feel like a key to a lot of relationships is not having judgment.
Yeah, it's not a deal breaker.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say it's not a deal breaker, but I can agree with the fact that I would prefer, like, personally, someone who's more put together or, you know, like, dominant in leading conversations and such. It's just more attractive to me personally. But the first would not be a deal breaker.
Yeah.
To go back, you said, what you said about like, well, we shouldn't judge people, but it's like, how many guys like hit on you in a day and ask you out?
In a day?
Yeah.
Not that often. I'm a homebody.
In the DMs.
Yeah, in the DMs.
In the DMs. Honestly, yeah, pretty often. Like maybe like 20 to 50.
Out of those 20 or 50, like how many do you go on a date with?
I mean, first of all, it takes a lot of labor to find out more about each person, know what they're like looking for, know who they are on a level, and then I have to think about like what I'm processing, about how I'm feeling, whether I'm in the mental state to go out with someone, because I'm not gonna go out with someone if I'm like depressed and like I just want to like go to sleep, you know? Like for me personally, it would take me a long time. I would probably be more selective, not just because like I'm like, you know, judging them. I'm probably asking myself, am I right for them? Because I'm not gonna waste anyone's time.
And 20 or 50, you have to also understand that we are exposing ourselves to a large group of people like every single day. Like, I mean, if you look at the percentage and the ratio of people who actually know who I am and see who I am versus people who like DM me, I think it's pretty normal.
I mean, but in general, women reject men far more often than they say, like, they pick them.
So you're obviously making some sort of judgments. You're deciphering to some degree. I mean, I assume you don't date every single guy that wants to date you.
Of course.
So you are sussing out, okay, well, what metrics, like, I want to get the best guy, right? I mean, we can all agree we would like to get the best partner we can get. So I'm assuming you're looking at either appearance, you're looking at personality, you're looking at any myriad of traits that they might have to determine whether this is someone I'd want to pursue or not.
Yeah, I think the key that I just want to say is that I think everyone deserves a fair chance. And I think that also people need to learn how to actually carry out and enforce the judgments that they lay onto people. I mean, look, it's impossible to live in a world without judgment, but if you're going to judge something based on a certain quality or value, you may as well do a damn good job.
It kind of seems like men and women have very different ideas of what success and attractiveness look like for men. Like, I actually think men judge each other much more harshly than women judge men, because when I speak to other women, the qualities that I hear come up the most when looking for a man are things like kindness, being respectful, being sensitive, being willing to talk about your feelings.
Have you heard the saying like,
stop the cap?
Have you heard the saying like, girls don't know what they want? Like,
I guess.
That's
I mean, we hear that all the time.
like they'll say they want the nice, respectful
It's usually
guy.
men that bring up
Hold
things
on.
like wealth and success.
But